pop-up booth on the 5th floor introducing that to the public.
That would be cool.
That would be very cool.
And you're live.
Especially considering I'll have like a dozen of them, and they'll all be hooked to 5150 rifles, including their newest AKAR design, which is going to take the world by storm. But that's beside the point. What the hell is that? I hear myself.
I think it's you.
Oh, there it is. I have my monitor volume way the hell up. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Well, I guess that means it's time to do the intro to the show. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for joining the weekly roundtable. I am one of your hosts and co-founder of the Liberty First Foundation and host of the Range Report on YouTube. You should like and subscribe and all the rest of that good shit. And directly below me, the Dragon of the Southern Tier, Michael Rooftop Korean Vasquez. That's a joke from last week, but we'll let you know. Directly to my side is Peter. I'm the MFer, the what gets stuff done, Soma. And below us, right there, our loyal friend and compatriot, Jan Rains, the pistol packing mama who goes to motorcycle rallies and doesn't realize that she's getting on somebody's live broadcast what she is. Yeah, we keep up with you. We keep up with your expert.
Oh, I'm pretty sure, but do you guys mind if I start tonight out going off that note?
By all means,
Sure.
please. The floor is yours.
Well, first of all, I want to say that, it's Memorial Day weekend, and I think that we need to give that a big shout out. We need to honor those that served and gave their lives for us, whether they died in combat or unfortunately whether they're one of the 22 a day who commit suicide. We've got to do something in this country to take care of our vets. It is a promise to them when they put their name on that dotted line and give their ass to the government to do anything and everything the government says. I think, it's really cool that if you ever have the chance, find out when the Run for the Wall, if they're going to come through your city or your town, and be out there and support them. It's very important. I didn't realize, knowing the background of them coming through our town, I didn't realize that this was one of the last major stops until one of the speakers tonight at the ceremony spoke about it and how much it means to them to have the public come out and support them. Go visit a military cemetery. Pay your respects. We need to honor and remember. That's all I have to say.
Well, Jen, you said it all. Myself, unfortunately, I was 4F'd and not permitted to do my service, but our two Michaels are, you never say former Marine.
No.
They're Marines. Once a Marine, always a Marine, because the oath doesn't expire. And both of these men have seen their share of some of what the worst the world has to offer. And fortunately, they're here with us. But a lot of their compatriots aren't. And we have done a lot of work with and for military services wherever we are. And no matter where we go, we are always touched and taken aback by the stories that we hear of valor and bravery and courage that so many people don't know, don't understand, can't relate to, and are seldom told outside of a VFW hall. And more of our American citizenry really do have to do better in understanding what the sacrifice is that these men and women have made for our country. Whether you agree with the motivations for why they were where they were when they were, they signed a blank check, and far too many have cashed it and continue to suffer the ill effects of it. So at some point at the end of this broadcast this evening, we're going to put up a couple of the links with some of the groups that we work with. that will offer help and support for the men and women who come back bearing those scars, because it is possible to die twice. And a lot of these men and women feel like they're dead inside because they suffer from post-traumatic stress, survivor's guilt, or any of the maladies from what they've had to suffer through. And we don't want that to happen. So, Chan, thank you. It's never pleasant having to be reminded of somebody's sacrifice. It never is, but we have to. And thank you for kicking off the show with that tonight. It's greatly appreciated on behalf of myself and the rest of the guys. So again, thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I think more for me, being a military brat myself too, I was medically rejected from joining the service. Military just holds such a special place in my heart. And I think that we need to get back to a country that honors that the way we used to. I mean, I remember, it's really sad, but I remember how our Vietnam veterans were treated. My father was a Vietnam veteran. It took a long time. It took a long time for this country to accept them. And they were just doing what they were told to do. And I think you hit it really good when you said, you have to respect them because they do what they're told to do. It may not be a lot of their choice, but they do it because that's the way the military works.
Oh, I see that Mr. Marshall has shared something up on the screen. Mike, you want to chime in, brother?
Yeah. Memorial Day, a lot of people like to thank veterans, and our day is on Veterans Day. That's when we need to recognize our veterans. Memorial Day is to honor the men and women that have paid the ultimate price in protecting our freedoms. And as you know, Liberty First Foundation is in that fight, even though we're not actively serving in the military. We are actively engaged in the fight of this country and the freedoms that it was based upon back in 1776. I shared up here the Congressional Medal of Honor Society's webpage because most of the people that have won the Medal of Honor did so posthumously. And these were just ordinary people that answered a call, and then they were put into a circumstance where they acted extraordinarily, well above and beyond the call of duty. And these are the people that we need to remember. Okay, these are the people that fought for the Constitution, starting back when we became a nation back in 1776. The Congressional Medal of Honor was actually established during the Civil War, and to this day, there's a lot of people that don't even understand what this medal means. It is the highest military honor. In fact, if the commander of the Army, Joint Chiefs of Staff, etc., they have to salute anyone that was wearing this medal or any Medal of Honor recipient that they know of. That is how much reverence is put into this honor being bestowed upon an individual. Okay, everybody salutes him, and that's one of the things that we need to remember. Like I said, is the people that died while earning this medal. Also, they sacrificed everything.
and that is also you don't win a Congressional Medal of Honor, you earn it. You know, that's not a prize that a lot of these men and women seek to earn, because in order to earn that medal, you have got to go above and beyond what anybody would consider human effort, human courage, to be able to do something so far beyond and greater than yourself. The sacrifice it takes to earn that medal is not a chore that comes lightly. And when you see someone who has one of those ribbons, and Michael and I and Vass and myself, we've both all of us have been in the company of CMH recipients. And I have on my office wall right over there, I have the autograph of Sam Davis Jr., not Sammy Davis Jr., Sam Davis Jr. When I met that man and he shook my hand and signed that autograph for me, and took a picture with me, I could not help but feel so woefully inadequate in every capacity than to stand next to a man who had done what he had done. And we were in an auditorium with over 50,000 people. Every single one of them disappeared, and the only person that I could see was Sam Davis Jr., because there's more in that man than in the whole auditorium full of people. It's it's just it's an incredible sacrifice that has to be made to earn the CMH. And you know, and there's men and women who are out there every day who don't want to but are willing to, and we need to honor them, and especially all the ones that gave their lives. So
Well, I think I need to add to that too. I think that if you see a mother out there this any Memorial Day weekend or any day that has a Gold Star Mom shirt on, go up and tell her thank you, because this is also their weekend. They're the ones who lost their kids.
yeah. Vass, you want to throw anything in there?
I wanted to share an image. Well, this is something that I did a few years back, and I just brought it up. And let me bring it up on the screen here for everyone. You see it? And so I won't play the whole thing. It's like 5 minutes long. It's not long. But this was something that I covered 12 years ago, actually. The POWs, the MIAs that many people forget about throughout the year. And this is the one day to think about the men and women. This was at a service of the Moving Wall. This is the wall of everyone who died in Vietnam, KIA, MIA, and it just remembers the sacrifice. And it's not just the Marines, it's everybody. And if no one's ever seen the remembrance service for the POWs, for the MIA, check it out. Take a look. It's 6 minutes of your life, and especially in this Memorial Day weekend, see the images, see what they mean, which the service does describe, and just think about, none of us would be here today. Our lives would be nothing like this without that. And so I just wanted to let people know it's not hard to find ways to remember them. It takes just 6 minutes, but it means so much, and we should all do it. So I just wanted to show that's, and you can just, again, just type in POWMIA Remembrance Service. That's the one I covered. There are many others out there. Take a moment over the weekend, 6 minutes, and see those memories.
I see Pete's got his mic off, but I'm not sure if he's still at his computer. He's having some little camera issues this evening. I don't know if you wanted to throw anything in there as well. We'll see if Pete comes back to us.
I'm sure it will.
I'm sure he will. All right. It's rough, man. It's rough. It's you try to go back into trying to be lighthearted when you got that on when you presented with that, and it's hard. It's very difficult to get back into our normal swing, so to speak.
Well, we have to. We have. That's why so many did what they did, gave what they gave. It's so that not just to be sitting there going, it's so sad, but to go on and say, but I have so much, to be happy, to be able to make the jokes and to be able to have good friends and have good conversations and see a movie.
Well, the whole point of having a constitution, the whole point of men and women swearing an oath, the whole point of them going and fighting abroad or at home is to defend that constitution and the freedoms that it guarantees us. Mm-hmm. So the best way to honor the men and women who've given so much is to live life as the best American that you can, utilizing every one of those freedoms every single day. Don't take them for granted. Use them. Speak out. Vote. Protest. Do everything you want to. Carry a firearm. Write an article. Write an op-ed letter. Do something. Exercise your freedoms because they were, protected by these people. So the best way to honor them is maybe, what is the quote? Do not be solemn, for these men have died. Be grateful, for these men have lived.
Yes.
And the best way to honor them is to live and be everything that you can be. That's why America is great. That's why we are the nation that we are. And if you're not going to be a part of the American fabric, at least be grateful that you can wrap yourself in it. But for God's sake, be an American.
And there's something about being an American, and a lot of us don't understand what that actually entails. A vast majority of us don't understand what that entails. Our country was founded upon the belief of self-governance. It was the first nation to ever actually be self-governed. Every other nation prior to the United States being established was done under another type of rule, most of it being a monarchy or an oligarchy. There was never a nation before the United States that was completely a self-ruled nation. We set the standard. We shine the beacon of freedom. Yet, too many of us say, I don't do politics. I don't like government. Excuse after excuse after excuse. And the thing is it's very, very hard. In fact, it is impossible to have a government of the people, by the people, and for the people when the people refuse to be involved. And that is what so many of these men and women sacrifice their lives for, that we honor this weekend, was to preserve our government, to preserve our way of life, to preserve our freedoms and our liberties. And so many of us take that for granted. People are going to get together this weekend, have their barbecues, get together on the beaches, have the keggers, have the parties, and everything else. And so many of us don't understand. And by so many of us, I'm talking about us as a whole, as a nation, as a people. So many of us don't realize the sacrifices that it took to get us to be the country that we are, to obtain the freedoms that we enjoy. And we have a government now that is working overtime to rob us of those freedoms. And I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, whether you're on the Republican side or whether you're on the Democrat side. You have to understand they don't care about you. They care about their power. They care about what they can get. They care more about the special interests that are paying into their secret bank accounts than they do about the citizens of the United States. And we have nobody else to blame but ourselves because we refuse to be involved. You say, well, I'm only one voice. Yeah, I'm only one voice. But you find me here every week talking about this. You find me here every week trying to educate people about the Constitution, about what's going on in this country. Okay? Yeah, I'm one voice. But guess what? There are 330 million voices in this country. And if we all start speaking out, we all start demanding that our government act as it should within the limits defined by the Constitution of the United States, then guess what? We will start seeing some changes. But that won't happen without each and every one of us starting to become involved in our own governance. Okay? You say, well, government's supposed to provide for that. Who's the government? We, the people. That's the government. Okay? The government isn't Washington, D.C. The government isn't the House of Representatives. The government isn't the United States Senate. The government isn't the president. The government is we, the people. That's why our Constitution starts off that way. Okay? So if you don't want to be involved, then guess what? You're part of the problem.
Now, while you were saying that, I put up what people have, tend to forget what e pluribus unum means, and you'll find that on our currency. You'll find that on our Great Seal. You'll find that on every document that has anything to do with the United States, and it means out of many, one. And what that means is of a nation of people, we are all individuals, the many, but together we are Americans. We are one people. So when people say, "Oh, it's like you said, Michael, it's I'm only one voice. What can I do?" Well, the proverb is, one stick is easily broken, but bundle many together and you can't break them at all. The more the people stand together, the harder it is for them to break us. And unfortunately, you have a lot of people that would either stand alone by themselves or not stand with anyone or not stand at all, and they don't stand with the many, so that are trying to speak out and hold the line and fight for the rights and all the rest of that. So every stick that you take from the bundle gets weaker. You want a strong bundle, get involved. It doesn't take that much. During the 1950s and 1960s, they used to teach civics in school. And there was a certain responsibility that people understood that they had when it came to their government. Now, It's no longer a responsibility; it's a chore. You know, oh, do I have to? Yes, you have to. If not because there's a law that says that you do, but because you may not be concerned about government, but government is quite concerned about you. So if you're not taking a part in it, believe me, they're going to take a part of you. So get active, get motivated, do something, stand up. Doesn't matter what you believe in. I will, we are the Liberty First Foundation. We don't care what side of the aisle you're on, so long as you're letting your voice. A good debate can only be had with opposing points of view, and we want all views to come, to come front and center and be heard. We like a debate. Only the weak-minded or those with weak arguments, shy from the debate. So we welcome them because we're confident in ours. But if you're not sharing your point of view, you're not doing anything about it, all you're doing is you're reaping the reward of somebody else's sweat equity, and you're not contributing anything to your own. So you could either be a taker or a giver, or somebody who just sits in the corner. And we don't really think that that's what anybody should do. But hey, that's enough of my soapbox.
Okay. I just wanted to touch on this, and then we'll go on to other things. Military. Every person who joins the military takes an oath. Okay, whether they are an officer or enlisted. And the enlisted oath starts off like this: I, and then state your name, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed above me, according to the regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God. The officer's oath is very similar, except they actually state that they were appointed an officer in branch of service and what their grade was. They say, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign or domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of my office upon which I am about to enter. So help me God. Those two oaths, right at the beginning, they don't say anything about defend the nation. They don't say anything about defending the United States. They say, will defend the Constitution of the United States. Okay? Specifically, it says, I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. It doesn't say anything about the United States. It says the Constitution. Even the oath for officers. Okay. When people join the military and they signed on the dotted line that they're joining, they didn't join to defend the nation. They joined to defend the principles of our nation. Those principles were built upon the Constitution of the United States. That is what brought us our freedoms. That is what joining something bigger than yourself means. The Constitution is much larger than us as a nation. It's much larger than us as individual states or even as the United States, because it is its principles of freedom, of liberty, of self-governance that have been the beacon across the ages. For over 240 years, that Constitution has remained in place. Yeah, it's been modified, but there's mechanisms put in it for it to be modified. We have too many people that want to subvert it, who want to ignore it, who want to try to do an end run around it, and bring us all these laws, all these mandates, all these other things that are not a part of what this country was founded upon. That's what we honor when we're honoring the people that sacrificed this Memorial Day. Okay? It's not just men and women that were in uniform either, because there were many that fought for this country that never wore a uniform. There are many people that fought for freedom that never put on a uniform. They were never a part of any military branch, but they were Americans. They fought for something larger than themselves. That's what we honor this weekend.
No. See, that's what I don't get about the people that burn the flag, or the people that kneel for the national anthem and all the rest of that and the Pledge of Allegiance. And they go, it's just a flag. And they forget, my dogs are barking, they forget what the Pledge of Allegiance says about the flag. It's not, the flag is just not a flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. The flag is only a symbol of the republic. The flag represents the republic. The republic is held together by we the people and the rights that are detailed in our Constitution. When you burn the flag, or you refuse to stand for the flag, or you don't respect the pledge, you're saying that you don't agree. I understand people do it as a protest. I'm protesting against police brutality. I'm protesting against this right, against this, or against that, or whatever. You're protesting against the very thing that is the only document anywhere in the world that gives you the right to protest. You're saying that you're protesting against the Constitution. Because when you were protesting against the flag, which stands for the republic, which is bound together by a constitution, then you're protesting the Constitution that gives you the right. So do you not agree with your own right to protest? Do you not agree with the freedoms that are granted to you by the flag, by what the flag represents? So it's just, to me, it just seems like an oxymoron. You know, if you burn your driver's license and then you go drive and you get pulled over and you can't present your driver's license, you get fined because you didn't present your driver's license. Well, if you're denying the flag, then you're denying the republic, you're denying the Constitution, then you're denying the rights that you have that give you the ability to do so. So it seems to me like you shoot yourself in the foot every time. Every time somebody, refuses to stand for the flag, refuses to honor the flag, refuses to honor the men and women who fought for the flag and what it stands for, it just seems that you shoot yourself in the foot. And I just don't get that. If you don't like something, change it. But the tools that give you the right to change the things you don't like are detailed in the very document you're protesting against. I hate my job. Will you cash your check? You don't like your job? Quit your job. You don't like your country? There's a solution for that too. But that's beside the point. I don't want to get off on a rant here. Anyway, hey, did you hear about the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals put an injunction against the ATF and their pistol brace ruling?
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. That was pretty damn cool. And then, hey, did you also hear that New Jersey and Connecticut decided to stub their nose at the Supreme Court and the Bruin decision and say, screw you. We're just going to double down on everything you just said was unconstitutional.
Well, and didn't Massachusetts just pass another gun bill?
Well, it's Massachusetts. They pass a new gun bill every other Thursday up in Massachusetts. I mean, we're kind of used to Massachusetts being stupid. I just don't. Just don't understand it.
You mean they're following New York and California and New Jersey? Being stupid.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Hey, everybody in those states. All right, prepare yourself. Prepare yourself. Look. It's an AK-47. Look.
How scary.
Look how scary. You see, this one is not.
No, it has wood.
Exactly. This one's
Frank,
not as scary because it has wood on it.
Frank,
It has wood.
Frank, be careful. It might shoot you.
Yeah.
There's a good possibility. There's a very good possibility. Now, all right, it might not be too scary because it has wood, but I'm going to make it really, really scary. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this? My God, it's a high capacity magazine.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Or as Anton Kalishnikov called it, standard capacity. So now it's more scary because it's got a big magazine in it. But it's got wood, so that takes it away. But it's black, so that makes it scary again. But this is really scary. One of these is really, really scary.
You know, it amazes me sometimes the things that people allow themselves to be afraid of because somebody else said they're scared. People who've never touched a gun are like, oh my God, they're terrifying. It's an AK-47. It's terrifying. Most of the black on black homicides in America aren't by firearms. They're by people's hands or knives. Using your hand and or a knife is more deadly than firearms. That's the reality. And that's where most of the black on black crime comes from. That's actually where most of the white on white crime comes from. People are so busy being led by the nose, being told what they should be terrified about without paying attention to and what's actually happening. It's like, oh, well, you should be upset because of what do they like to say? The answer to crime is to reduce the punishment. But all evidence everywhere has shown us that doesn't work. No, that just means we need to do more of it. We need to judge people based on the color of their skin. We fought a war over that. No, but they were wrong. We need to do that. We are being led to horrible decisions because people aren't stopping for 30 seconds and thinking about what did you just say and what does that mean? Oh my God, you showed me an AK-47. It must be deadly. Why? You don't say that about cars. They don't say that about baseballs. They don't say that about kitchen knives. They don't say that about people's hands.
Well, I'll give you a name to support your premise. Robert Wallace.
Mm-hmm.
Probably don't know the name, but it sounds like a movie name. Robert Wallace. Robert Wallace. You know who Robert Wallace was? Or is? Robert Wallace was a guy who took a couple of karate lessons. And he wound up getting into a fight with somebody in the street. And the guy was trying to attack him and try to beat him up and all the rest of that. And Robert Wallace used a little bit of his training and gave the guy a karate kick. He kicked the guy fell, the guy died. Robert Wallace got sentenced to 4 years in prison for criminally negligent homicide. And they deemed that he used a weapon. Now,
His
you would
feet.
think that since he used a weapon, because if he never took a karate lesson and just happened to throw a kick because he watched a couple of one too many Bruce Lee movies, he probably just, probably would have been different. But because he was a trained killer. He understood martial arts and he could kill you with one kick. All of a sudden, he's Jackie Chan. It just goes to illustrate you can kill somebody with anything. I could show you 6 ways to kill a human being with a straw. Maybe not one of the paper ones that they give you out in California, but a plastic straw. I can show you 6 ways to kill a man with one of those. It doesn't, it's not the weapon. It's not the weapon. It's the intent used behind the weapon. It's the person who uses the weapon. And everybody's always, the rifles and the rifles is so scary and this and that. What are we showing here? Is this the Karate Kid?
No. This is what happened in New York 2 days ago. You don't even need a weapon. A crazed individual pushed a woman in front of a subway car and she's paralyzed. You don't even need a weapon. He just pushed her.
Well, the train was the weapon, but they won't say. Well, he was. No, it's the intent. The intent facilitates the crime. The intent facilitates the crime. The action commits the crime. The person, not the weapon that they use. And to say, I mean, I have a gun. I have a rifle sitting next to me. That is the epitome of everything that they hate. It's the epitome of everything that they hate, except I decided to be a little different. Now it's not a black rifle. It's not a black. I'm going to turn it on another light so you can appreciate the color a little bit. This is not black. This is not a black rifle. This is Badass Berry. That's the name of the color this is. So now, is this any scarier or less scary than that AK-47? Well, this one might be scarier because it has this a big giant scope on the top, and it's got flip up sights on it, and then it has another sight here on the side of it, so that you could use it for multiple positions. But I figured I wanted to get a gun that's probably in the least scary color that I could find, and I figured that would foot the bill. But if that one didn't work, then how about one that Goldfinger would carry? This isn't scary. This isn't scary. This is called Fool's Chocolate. It's a chocolate gold rifle. Chocolate gold. And this one's also not this, because this only has a tiny little scope on it. And there it is. I was hoping I didn't think somebody was going to beat me to it, but they did. I have that photo up on queue right now. Yeah, that's the unicorn rifle. That's the unicorn rifle. It shoots unicorn farts and bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that thing fires. That's what that thing fires right there. I've seen that gun in person. It's hysterical.
Really? Oh God. But it's the same thing over and over again. It's fear is worse than reality. Always, in every aspect of our lives. What your fear is worse than anything that you will actually go through. Always.
Well, what's the old saying? Never let a
crisis go to waste.
Yeah, never let a crisis go to waste.
I'm going to step out for a minute. My dogs are freaking out. I don't know if somebody's trying to break into the house or deliver me an Amazon package. So I'm going to.
Okay. But that's just an example of the politicians manipulating people. I mean, they want us to be terrified because, it's black, it's made out of metal. Look at all the gun bans that they put out there. They're so stupid that they have bans like the Ruger Mini 14. And if you have it in the wood version, it's perfectly legal. If you have the metal version, it's illegal. It's the same rifle, literally the same rifle, except one has a stock that's made out of wood and the other one has it made out of metal. It's stupid. It's style over substance in the most extreme manner. And the cost of that style of capitulating to the fad is a loss of freedom and people being endangered, people's lives, literally. This isn't like, oh, you didn't buy Skittles, so you're not supporting the rainbow and someone's going to die. No. We're talking about literally people who have gone into places like in Tennessee, like we've seen in Kentucky, like we've seen in cities across this nation, where an individual is using that fear to then commit crimes because people are terrified. They're told you can't protect yourself. And yet the Constitution was built on the idea you must be the one responsible for yourself first, not the government, not local, federal. No government is there to supersede your ability to protect yourself because you're the one who's going to be in that incident. You're the one who's going to have your freedoms assaulted. And someone else might show up after the fact, but you're the one who's going to live that, and you're the one who has to deal with it first and foremost. It should be simple. It really should be simple for us to understand this. And yet there are so many people who are willing to defer their life and their freedoms to someone else, which has nothing to do with life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's amazing to me. It truly is amazing to me. But we keep seeing this over and over and over again.
Well, they're using it now with the debt ceiling stuff. Everything's going to default as of June 6th. Well, if you budget your money and you pay your bills, there's enough money there to start paying stuff, even as the 6th comes around. You've got all that COVID money that's sitting there. You got money you keep sending to Ukraine and all the other countries. You know what? Pay our bills.
Well, that would take, and the thing there, Jan, is that would take accountability and responsibility, which the government is saying doesn't exist. No, we have to pay that. Okay, how? And by the way, stop spending. If we don't have the money to pay this, why are we paying more? Why are we talking about $50 trillion in debt within the next decade? Actually, less than the next decade. It's about 5 years away. Why are we spending more? If we can't afford what we have, why are we continuing to make debt? And people have to realize, what are we doing? We're printing more money, which means we're going deeper into debt, and it's hurting poor people. The very same people are saying, oh, but we have to keep spending money. We have to keep printing money to help poor people, except you're making their lives worse. It's called inflation. And printing more money makes more inflation. This is ridiculous. It's another example of style instead of substance. We want to sound like we're doing something. The politicians want to sound like they're helping people without anyone stopping for 30 seconds to go. And the direct consequence of this is we're going to hurt more people and more severely for a longer period of time. We can't keep doing this. It's an example that we see and it's not just in the debt ceiling. It's not just with the gun laws, because we're seeing this in every aspect of our government right now. I'll give you another example right here, and you guys can bring this up. We're seeing this with immigration. There are now As you can see, this is yet another town, another county in New York State that didn't ask for illegal aliens, that isn't a sanctuary city. It isn't a part of the sanctuary violation of our of our laws on immigration, that's saying, no, we don't want illegal aliens. Right now, there are 30, I want to show it to you. There are 36 counties out of 57 in New York State alone that have put up emergency regulations saying, we don't want these illegal aliens. New York City asked for them. No one else asked for them. Don't push your problem onto us. But the bigger thing is, this is all about the idea that that a small group of politicians have said, okay, it's our problem. We caused it, but you can't say no. You don't have a choice. You have to accept. You have to have blind affirmation. That's not what the Constitution says. That's not how our system is built. Just because you say it's a problem doesn't mean it's my problem or that I have to agree with your solution, especially since you're the one who created the problem in the first place.
Well, again,
does that make sense?
Well, I keep saying it time again, every time somebody says they can't be this stupid. They're not. It's all by design. You hurt the economy, so you print more money to hurt the economy. You say you're helping people, so you print more money. You put us deeper in debt, drive up deficits, spend more money. Why would you? Well, you said, well, they said, well, we're trying to help. They're not trying to help poor people. They're trying to hurt the poor people. It's literally this is an active pursuit of trying to hurt people. And you say, well, why would the government want to hurt people? Because the more dependent you can make people, the more you can control them. The easier it is to retain your power, because the last thing government wants is a society full of free-thinking people that don't need the government to help them, because then the government has outlived its usefulness, or at least the usefulness that they claim they're trying to be, when the only thing that the government is supposed to be doing is ensuring our border, protecting our nation, and making sure that the Constitution is respected so that everybody can live their lives without interference. That's what the government is supposed to be doing. So when they're doing everything that is directly in opposition to it, it's not because they're stupid, it's because they're smart. Because they know the more they hurt you, the more they can control you.
No, it makes more people dependent. Yeah, I agree with you.
Do it.
I agree with you. It's making people dependent. You have to depend on the government. You can't vote them out, because the next person may come in and they're going to say, no, be accountable for yourself. Self-responsibility. You're not going to be coddled cradle to grave. You have to go out and do things.
The next guy might take away everything that we're trying to give you. Yeah, but what you're giving me is $1 that costs me 20.
Yeah.
You're giving me debt. That's what you're giving me. You're giving me debt. You're taking away my liberty. You're exerting control. I didn't ask it for, and you put it all up in a pretty package that says I'm from the government and I'm here to help. This is all being done on purpose. These people are not stupid. They're evil. That's the difference.
But they're stoppable, and people have to remember, we can change this. And it's just like we said earlier, this is our government. We can stop this process. This vortex doesn't have to keep going down. It's as simple as vote them out. Lift up your voice. Pick somebody you believe is the best. Not what your party says is the best candidate. What you think is the best candidate. Get them to run on the ballot. Get this petition signed. And have them run, and then support them. Donate to their campaign, spend time to volunteer, be behind that candidate, let your peers know about them and then go out and vote. It's not a hard process. And if we did that, we could change this government in an election, maybe two. It is very easy to change. It just requires people to get up and do it. You have to just get involved. And God help us, that's not the most expensive or difficult thing to ask for. To say, hey, actually be involved.
Well, let's talk about a little bit of what they are wanting to raise this debt ceiling for. Okay.
Climate change.
This report comes out every year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's a report called from openthebooks.com.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Where's the Pork? Okay. And they literally go through here and they talk about where these things are. The IRS sends $3.6 billion in stimulus checks to 2.2 million dead people.
Now,
6.9 million in smart toilet that analyzes anal prints. 3.6 billion in paycheck protection program paid out to 57,000 recipients on the do not pay list.
Mike, before you go any further, I want people to realize the money that they spent will never be unspent. That is
Exactly.
money we are never going to get back. Even though the program, even if they said, well, those people have to pay it back, which they probably won't, even if the checks aren't cashed, they don't say, oh, well, that money is no longer needed. Let's just burn those bills like they never existed and reduce the inflation. No, they just spend it somewhere else.
see, now the thing is that you said how much, Mike, scroll back up again to the checks of people that got the dead people money.
3.6 billion for 2.2 million people.
All right. 3.6 for dead people.
Yeah.
Who cashed those checks?
Well,
Because a dead guy can't. You can send a check out to some. I could write a check now for $20 trillion and send it to somebody dead. If they don't cash it, it ain't gonna bounce. If they don't cash it, the money. If I had the money, it would still be in my account. So when they send that money out to dead people, and that dead money, that the cash is there, unless the dead person is withdrawing that money should still be there. So that money should be returnable, reclaimable, cancel the check, void the check, stop payments on the check.
But here, the Internal Revenue Service administered the stimulus program, but the agency didn't check Social Security's deceased persons list before cutting the checks. So the IRS asked for the money back. But dead people are notoriously bad about paying up. The federal government is equally bad about clawing it back.
it's a regulation problem. They would spend, think about how much money they would spend trying to track it down, because I guarantee you at least a portion of that money are going to illegal aliens using that dead person's social security number and cash that check.
No doubt. There's no doubt about it. But when you got this, I mean, this is the whole shrimp on a treadmill bullshit.
Yep.
The amount of money that they spend. And this is one of the things that I always had a problem with. I got a lot of libertarian friends, lots of them. And the world rises and sets over Ron Paul. You know, Ron Paul is famous for never voting for a single bill that had pork in it. And that was his claim to fame. Never voted for a bill but he put pork in the bills. He didn't vote for him, but he put the pork in it because he wanted to be able to go on the national stage when he was running for president and say, I never voted for a pork. I voted down every one of them. Well, listen, when you know damned well your pork barrel spending bill is going to pass and it doesn't need your vote, and you're gonna say, listen, if I tell everybody I didn't vote for it, that gives me certain credibility among certain circles. But I still need to bring the pork back home to my home state. So when I go to run for re-election here, after I lose the presidential nomination, I can tell the people, well, look at all the money I brought back for your library, for your for this institute, for the fish that swim the wrong way up the stream, or whatever the hell project it is that they're trying to fund at the local level that they want the money from the Fed. The congressperson can go back and say, hey, I brought you the pork, and then tell the rest of the nation I never voted for it. It's a big game, it's a big party, and we're not invited. We have not been invited since they declared national, that oh, by the way, we're going to establish an internal revenue service so that everybody can, take 20% of their paycheck and send it to us, and we're going to make that the law now. We haven't been a part of the system in 100 years. We have the illusion of being a part of the system.
Well, that's why we're sending $2 million to Ethiopia for hookers, to teach hookers how to have sex. I think they've got that down.
Yeah.
I think, as part of the job description, they might know how to have sex. And we're spending $2.1 million. People say, well, it's only $2.1 million. How many kids does that feed? How many homeless veterans does that house?
How many bullets does that buy? I'm sorry, I got to go ammunition shopping this week.
No,
Oh, hey, you guys started talking about sex, so I figured I'd jump back in.
Well, there you go, Pete.
Okay.
Welcome back, brother.
Fauci.
Hey, how we going?
Here's Fauci back in here again. NA spent $478,188 to turn monkeys transgender.
Why? I mean, you just have to look at that and go, why? It's not something that nature intended. Why?
Well, you see, that's the thing. The reason they do it is because then they could turn around and say, well, listen, it happens in nature, so it's only normal that it happens, among the human population. So that's a good reason why we're going to indoctrinate your children into it.
No, it's not like the monkey can consent.
Well, at 3 years old, your kid can't either, and they're trying to convert them.
Well, yeah, same problem.
They're going to use a study like that to try and justify it and say, see, it's perfectly normal in nature, so it's perfectly normal in humans. No, this isn't mass psychosis. This isn't groupthink. This isn't an extreme expression of political ideology. This is nature. This is nature. And speaking of Fauci, did you hear him come out this week and say that maybe putting all those people on ventilators was the wrong thing to do, that maybe when people's lungs are filling with fluid, maybe the best thing to do is, I don't know, treat them the way you would with somebody with pneumonia and put them in a position that allows them to breathe easier so that they could expel the fluids from their lungs naturally, rather than putting them on a respirator that just circles the air in them and stuff like that. He goes, well, maybe it did more harm than good. You think? That son of a bitch killed my aunt and my uncle and my cousin with his putting people on respirator crap, on the ventilators. And now he's coming out, and then you have people all over the place. Why do the conservatives hate Fauci so much? Oh, maybe because he killed my relatives.
Now,
Policies killed my relatives. That's why.
Let's get back to the Second Amendment.
Bullets.
Yeah.
$110 million spent on guns, ammo, and military-style equipment at non-military federal agencies.
That would be the IRS agents that are required to be able to have a firearm and shoot civilians.
Yeah, regulatory agencies.
Not just the IRS, 103 federal agencies outside of the Department of Defense between 2015 and 2019.
Right. And I'm just highlighting that it's what most people will hear about the fact that recently, the last year, IRS agents are being hired specifically to carry firearms to be able to shoot American citizens. The IRS, the accountants are being required to carry firearms.
Right
Why do they need a firearm?
now
They
the
don't.
other 110 agencies. Can we possibly find out a list of what those 110 agencies, non-military government
Okay.
agencies
Of
are?
that spending,
Would be post office.
110.6 million went to 76 non-law enforcement administrative agencies like the IRS, the EPA, and the Social Security Administration.
Post office would also be part of that. Post office.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, not because I'm looking to give anybody any leeway on anything, but the post office does have a police department. They're called the United States Postal Police. The United States Postal Police do investigate crimes, do have police powers, and I can understand why postal police officers would be required to have firearms. I understand that, so I'm gonna cut them some slack on that one. And
So-
and just by the way, I don't begrudge anybody carrying a gun. I kind of am pro that, but I also think if the government's going to be buying guns for their employees, why not buy guns for the people that are paying for it? Where's mine? Where's mine? I really, really, really would like a Ronin 10mm 1911 style pistol. I'd really like one of those. So government, please, you know where I am.
The feds give 300,000 to virtual reality penguin study.
Well, come on now. Who doesn't want to see Chili Willy the penguin in a VR mask? Geo, gosh, he's chilly all the time.
California had a $76 billion surplus, and Congress gave them another $26 billion bailout.
Well, somebody had to get paid to count the 76 billion.
Feds admit 281 billion in improper payments in 2021, not including COVID payments. So this is above and beyond COVID.
Yeah. It is just yet another proof, another way to see, and this is annual. We see this every year, and it grows. The amount of money and the amount of programs grows every year. And the problem is government isn't smarter or better than individuals. This is just another proof of government can't do anything better than you.
No,
the
they
American
can.
people.
They can. They do. Mike, they do everything better. They spend money better. They lose money better. They're reckless better. They're incompetent better. Everything that we do in our home to hold things together, they do better to break it apart. They ruin everything better than we possibly could, because there is no recompense for these people. There's no price to pay. They can do this with complete impunity because they don't give a shit. They give an insurmountable supply of never-ending money coming their way, so they can do with it what they please, and no one will ever get fired for it. We're still paying $700 for friggin' hammers.
NASA spent $1 million to prepare religions for the discovery of extraterrestrial life.
So much for church-state separation.
An army of 35,940 lawyers work in 203 U.S. federal agencies, costing more than $5 billion each year.
That's mostly because we can't read anything in regular English. Everything's in lawyerese.
Well, those
The
lawyers
United
are on
States
staff
paid,
to defend the
paid
country against lawsuits that you bring.
$562.4 billion on national debt interest alone last.
Before we increased the interest rates. Before we increased interest rates.
State Department gave $25,000 in grants to Chinese surfers.
Well, come on. You have to.
$9.4 million to Kyrgyz, or whatever, however you pronounce it, Republic for anti-corruption.
Kyrgyz.
$1 billion
Our
surplus Congress
government-
bailed out Texas for $17 billion.
Our government giving another country money to fight corruption. Our government fighting.
Oh,
Mm.
U.S. gave $183,750 to teach Chinese kids how to cross the street.
Well, if you can teach hookers
Third
how to
graders-
have sex, you can teach kids how to cross
How
the
else
street.
are they going to get to the factory to build the iPad, iPhone?
Yeah, a fourth grader in China understands microbiology and quantum theory and all the rest of that, but they don't know how to cross the street.
Yeah. Fake Farms received $2 million in COVID aid, not for small businesses.
And I bet every single one of them was a black farm.
The U.S. gave Russian lab $550,000, $500,000 for gruesome cat experiments.
Yeah, I don't even want to get into what this government funds when it comes to animal cruelty.
But they do it off of U.S. soil, which is why they can get away with it. Because you can't do that to beagles and cats on U.S. soil. So they do it in other countries. So people
there's
don't get to see it.
Well, there's
National Science Foundation spent $300,000 for a study to find out if recycling is manly or not.
Does it make any sense?
well, I figured out how to recycle all the screwed up prints from my 3D printer and turn it back into new filament. That's pretty manly.
All right.
Okay. The National Institutes of Health, again, another Fauci, $500,000 to study gambling pigeon. Recent National Institutes of Health gave researchers at Reed College in Portland, Oregon, $465,339 to create a token-based economy where pigeons are taught to gamble with slot machines. The pigeons were given tokens and could choose whether to spin, save, or gamble.
Yeah. Because
While the researchers claimed the study helped them understand behavioral economics, the NIH did not explain how the pigeons' gambling habits relate to humans' gambling habits. Incredibly, they admitted the study focused more on laboratory models rather than practical applications.
Gee, what a shock there.
And you don't think government's not involved in Hollywood? Last
course
year,
it
they
is.
spent $1.2 billion, or the last 14 years, on films.
And thus we get the latest, what is it? Little Mermaid.
And of course, we need to know all about the hydrodynamics of defecation, a study of beasts pooping.
I was in that one.
Well, see, you can go through the whole list, but the thing is, we are looking at what happens when we allow the government to run rampant without people paying attention, without people actually saying you have to be accountable, just like we have to be accountable in our own lives. When we just give up and say, hey, the government, we just have to keep voting them in. We just have to keep doing what they say. without ever questioning what are they doing or whether it's efficient, effective. When we don't ask those questions, all of this is a waste. And more important than any of these programs, the thing is, this is people pushing paper to justify their existence. Half of these, I guarantee you, half of these programs is just someone pushing paper that says Ethiopia. Someone said, I want to teach Ethiopian, and I'm still stuck on this. I'm going to teach Ethiopian hookers how to have sex. So that went from one person stamping it going, well, that's a proposal, to another person, another middle manager, and a middle manager, and a middle manager, all along the line going, okay, I got to justify why I have a job. I put my stamp on it, push it to the next guy. Someone above me will stop this because this is obviously stupid. But no, they all have to say, well, the next person above me will stop this. Someone in the chain will stop this, rather than the very first person saying, this is stupid. We don't need to spend money on this. Not our problem. If Ethiopia wants to teach hookers how to have sex, Ethiopia can spend their money on that. I think Ethiopia has bigger problems than that. In fact, I know the Ethiopian government is spending money on bigger problems than that. But in America, rather than helping them to raise their crops, getting better scientific studies on how to grow food and how to educate the people, how to redo their water systems so that they can irrigate their crops, rather than doing something that's effective, we're wasting money on teaching. And do you really think that any of that money is actually reaching those individual hookers? I guarantee you not. It is going to their pimps or members of the corrupt Ethiopian government, and they are having a wonderful spa day on U.S. citizens' hard-earned taxpayer dollars. It is so insulting to see that.
I'll give you
As
one.
well as the rest of these.
I would venture to say that out of those millions of dollars for that program, not a single penny went out of this country.
No, I guarantee you there will be.
No, it was all siphoned off for administrative costs.
No, they'll have one
research.
I guarantee you they will have one classroom with like 5 hookers, with some guy, some politician standing there next to some teacher who thinks they're doing a great job for one class, so that some major news media person can take a couple of photos and go, see, you're helping women, because they have to justify it. It's their justification. There will be one class with one group of hookers and one teacher and a politician saying, I'm so great. I'm teaching hookers how to have sex. I'm empowering women around the world. I'm such a great guy. You need to reelect me so I can teach even more hookers how to have sex. I can teach their kids how to have sex.
Well, let's research that and see if either Hunter Biden or Eric Swalwell had anything to do with that.
Now,
well, it's Africa,
in
so yes, it would be
2012
Swalwell. What?
In 2012, we spent $5.7 million to create fake phone calls from the future. People in an area way to spend $5.7 million from the government is creating fake voicemails from the future. People in 2065 saying that climate change has changed and devastated the earth, and Alaska and California are without water.
Fear. Let's scare the public into submission. Oh, we can't convince them. Let's lie to them. Let's deceive them and go to the most gullible and say, oh, yeah, the future's calling and you screwed up. Spend more money.
This gets more and more ridiculous. Harvard spent $75,000 in federal grants to blow lizards off of trees with leaf blowers.
Harvard obviously has never taken a trip down to either Florida or Southern California.
They paid 1.3 million for shrimp to run on treadmills.
We're still doing that one.
Well, as far as the Harvard thing goes, remember Harvard gave David Hogg a degree, so let's not count them for being wise stewards of money.
Cornell's robots won a bottle of white and a bottle of red, costing taxpayers $1.2 million. Cornell University has a $10 billion endowment that has received $1.5 billion in grants since 2017, including $1.2 million since 2019 from the U.S. Department of Agriculture to help vineyards manage themselves. The funding to Big Red was for touch-sensitive technologies to improve vineyard management.
See, Mike, you can keep going through that list, but I want you to see something else that was just we just found out about. There it is. I want everyone to see this because as bad as that sounds, and okay, that's the federal government being stupid, but it's not just the federal government being stupid. Share this for a second, real quick. So we're now paying $80 million. And this is, you have to go overseas to see it. This is from The Guardian. It was issued on the 25th, yesterday. We're paying $80 million for the protesters that burned down our cities who got injured. If you read through this article from The Guardian, there will be no mention of any city. They don't mention Seattle, Portland. They don't mention Atlanta, Austin, Boulder. They don't mention any city, Minneapolis, that were burned down. The billions in dollars that was cost to the people, the poor people in each of these cities that were devastated. They don't mention people like David Dorn. They don't mention Jessica Whittier, who was killed for daring to say all lives matter. They don't mention the 8-year-old that was killed in Atlanta because her parents turned the wrong way. And the very same protesters shot up their car, killing their child. They don't mention Seattle and the CHOP and the Chaz, the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, or any other autonomous zone that wound up beating people to death or killing them. They don't mention, no, we're spending $80 million, and they justify it's the police. The police were such bad people in beating up and trying to stop people who were destroying cities, killing people. We have video, dozens upon dozens of videos of these protesters killing innocent people merely for being in the wrong place at the wrong time or daring to be a skin color that's a little bit too light, not having enough of a suntan. This is what we are seeing over and over again. Our government is not just wasting money on shrimp or on hookers, but they are wasting money in trying to convince us that people who harmed other American citizens for no reason other than their feelings, like that's justified. That's crazy. And not $1 of this $80 million is going to the victims of these BLM radical insurrectionists. Not $1. They don't mention that because they don't want you to remember history, documented, videotaped, live streamed history. They don't want you to remember that. And that's why they want us to be, yeah, we'll look at what the federal government is doing with stupid things about shrimp and with hookers. But at the same time, it's that same government that's doing stupid things like, you were at a protest and somebody who just killed David Dorn, you saw that. We've got to pay you money. We've got to give taxpayer dollars to you for being part of the riot that caused David Dorn to die. You were part of the riot that killed an 8-year-old child because their parents drove down the wrong block at the wrong time. And you saw it. Oh, I feel so bad for you. Excuse me. I don't feel bad for you at all. If you are part of those riots, call them what they are. insurrectionist riots in autonomous zones, then you are a criminal. You should be paying others. What about the people who suffered because of all this crap? Oh, we don't have any time to talk about them. It infuriates me. It infuriates me. Just like we see that BLM is going bankrupt now. That BLM is now going bankrupt. What did they do? They wasted people's money. They took $90 million. What are they doing? They're paying their family members $1 million for security. Big quotes there. For security. They bought 6 mansions. Meanwhile, again, we are spending $80 million. The same amount of money that was given to BLM is the same money that we're giving to people for being part of the riots that BLM promoted. They killed people. And the news media doesn't want to talk about it. Pisses me off.
Oh, they didn't. BLM didn't waste the money. They stole the money.
No, they were giving it. I will give it to them. They just said, "Oh, if you don't give us the money, you're a racist." Meanwhile, if I say that, oh, I'm just evil. I'm just trying to steal people's money. But BLM said, "Give us the money because we want to buy a mansion, and my brother needs to run my security firm and get paid $2 million to do nothing." By the way, we're not spending the money on actually helping Black people. We're not building up shelters. We're not building programs to feed the poor. No. We're not doing any of that. They're investing the money, making themselves wealthy, buying mansions, paying for their family to live high on the hog, and no one's getting anything. But we're not supposed to talk about that. We're not even supposed to recognize that. Instead, we're supposed to say, no, they should get more money. And we should be spending more money overseas to try and convince people in Ethiopia and in Pakistan that they need to be California, a place that is falling apart so badly. People are running out of there hand over fist. They are between New York and California. U-Haul barely has any vehicles to help people move anywhere else.
We keep hearing about all these unaccompanied minors also.
Yeah, millions of them.
Okay.
Child abuse.
Since
Child abuse.
2012, the United States has spent $13 billion sponsoring unaccompanied minor children at the border.
You know what that does? It's
Okay.
asking another.
Roughly, they spend $18,000 per unaccompanied child at the border. The average cost of education in Texas, K through 12 schools, was $9,800.
Well, that's just like what we're doing in New York City. We spend $60,000 per illegal alien, which is why the practical progressive Eric Adams has said he needs $1 billion because he's spending $60,000 per illegal alien to put them in a 3-star or 4-star hotel. We are wasting money before our eyes on criminality, on destroying our country, and ignoring laws and just accountability. This is ridiculous stuff, and it just infuriates me because this isn't the reason why people shed their blood for our nation, to be able to teach hookers how to have sex, to teach Chinese kids how to cross the street. We didn't spend the money so that we could go and pay it to people for being able to go out and kill David Dorn, Jessica Dottie Whitaker, the 8-year-old in Atlanta, the 16-year-old in Seattle. That's not what it's about. And we need to actually, the public needs to rise up and say, this is unacceptable. You want this money? Screw you. No, you don't get the money. Matter of fact, pay us. I'm sorry.
How much do you think the VA spent on ammunition since 2010?
The VA?
The VA.
I would guess it would be somewhere around $1 billion. None of it going for security, most likely.
25 million, including 11 million rounds of ammunition since 2010.
11 million rounds of ammunition that they've never used. Oh, that's good.
11 million rounds at $25 million. That's 56 cents a round.
I think it's the other way around. It's $2 a round.
Yeah. Yeah,
$2
you're right.
a round.
So what the hell? Well, they probably weren't getting too good of a deal. I mean, 223 ammunition at the peak was 66 cents a round.
Yeah, but it's the government, so you charge a premium
Yeah.
because the government will just print more money. It's AOC and Andrew Yang and AOC and Bernie Sanders. Just print more money.
Everybody wants a premium.
Okay, we're on Memorial Day. This here is interesting. It's 186,000 Marines.
Mm-hmm.
There are more federal employees, contractors with firearm authority than there are U.S. Marines.
Well, there's never been more than like 225,000 Marines except in active warfare like World War I, World War II. Other than that, there's never more than like 225,000.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that stands out to me is we're at 186,000. That's actually under the normal 200.
Right.
We normally have 200, peak at about 225, but we stay at about 200. If we're at 186, we're not getting enough people recruiting, which is a problem we see in the Navy, the Army, and the Air Force. So we're starting to miss our targets. That's a problem. And the fact that there's more federal employees than in one of our branches of military. Why? Why do we need that many people armed with firearms in the federal government?
Okay. So back to the administrative agencies that received $110.6 million on guns, ammunition, military style equipment between fiscal years 2015 and 2019. The IRS, the VA, the Executive Office of the President, Small Business Administration, the Smithsonian Institute, Social Security Administration, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and the Animal Health Inspection Service.
I can get animal health, maybe, if we're talking about people who have to go out and get wild animals somewhere. Let's give them that. Let's assume that there are a bunch of bobcats just running rampant across America, or a bunch of, I don't know, coyotes somewhere. Okay, I'll give you that. But the SBA, not only are they pencil pushing paperwork, but we're talking about very little interaction with the public ever. We're talking about the National Oceanic Atmospheric, otherwise known as the NOAA. It's a bunch of meteorologists. They have a bunch of thermometers running around the planet going, hey, what's the temperature today? Did you see how much? Did you get rain today? Oh, no, it's a dry, clear day. Okay. We're talking about people, meteorologists. The SBA, paper pushers. What is the guy who sits in an office saying, your loan's approved, your loan's approved, your loan's approved? Are you black? Oh, your loan's approved. Is that what we're spending our money on? This is stupid. It's very aggravating to me. It's very, very aggravating to me. Because none of this stuff, again, it all comes back to people need to be aware. People need to be involved with their government. We really need to have people stand up and write letters and vote and say, this is ridiculous. We can't keep doing this.
Oh, this is really good. Department of Homeland Security lost 228 guns in the most recent audited 3-year period. DHS also lost 1,889 badges and 25 secure immigration stamps.
Stamps. the thing
Lost.
that would be used to verify if you can actually be in this country illegally. How long can you use a stamp?
Lost.
Okay. In 2006, federal agencies spent $355,000, $775,000 on paintball equipment, $4.4 million on grenades and launchers, $7.9 million on unmanned vehicles, aircraft, $8.75 million on projectiles, $11 million on buckshot, and $37.6 million on tasers.
Well, grenades, paintball. Well,
Okay, here's the complete list. National Gallery of Art
Yes, because they
spent
need
$80,000.
grenades.
Let's see. Department of Education, $124,000.
They need grenades too.
Department of Labor, $686,000. Department of Commerce, $2,064,000.
all right. Look, we can go through this list until we're blue in the face. We can get sick to our stomach, and you know what?
Already there.
It's done. It's done. The damage is done. We're paying for it. Our grandchildren are going to pay for it. Well, your grandchildren are going to pay for it, because I ain't got no grandchildren, thank God. But Mike, you keep saying the people got to stand up. The people got to stand up. People got to stand up. Right. Half of the people vote for this shit. Half of the people vote for this crap because if they don't, well, if we don't spend that money, we're not going to give you your benefit money. We have to spend. Half of the people in this country, are big government, careless, reckless spenders that don't give a shit what we spend. They don't care about the debt. They don't care about the deficit because they're the me generation. They want their piece of the pie. They want their money for their benefit, and they don't care about the rest of it. They do not care about the rest of it. And the one half of the country that do care about it, the representatives that we vote for, spend this money too.
Well, that's the thing.
It doesn't matter who
one side or the other.
spend. It doesn't matter who we spend. They're all part of the system.
And then they'll brag about how much pork they bring back to their states.
I don't want any of the pork. I don't want any of the look. Temporary help for people, I'm all for. Help the homeless to get back to productive lives. I'm happy about helping people with that. I've been fighting for that for many years. That's not a problem. I have a problem that when we have people who are systemically doing nothing but living off of the government, that they are living beyond their means because the government keeps encouraging it in exchange for vote for me. That is buying a vote. It is a crime. It is a crime, not just it's a moral crime as well as a legal crime. This is coercion. This is a problem. And the fact that people, I understand, you got free stuff. You got your free Obama phone or whatever it may be. I understand why you want that, but wants aren't needs. Wants aren't productive. Just because you want it doesn't mean you should have it. We need to shut this down. We are poisoning our nation and the next generation. It only gets worse, and that brings us deeper into an authoritarian government, further away from freedom.
When government raises your kids, when you allow government to raise your kids, you obviously don't give enough a shit about the next generation to put a stop to the things that are going to threaten the next generation. You've already acquiesced your ability to give a damn about your kids. You've already given up on them. You're letting the schools indoctrinate them, the teachers convert them. You're letting government take care of them and play daddy to all of this stuff. Half of the citizens in this country want this crap. Want it. And the other half that don't, 80% of those people aren't engaged enough to do enough to stop it. And as long as the vote right now is still going to be 50-50, I don't give a shit what anybody says. Oh, well, the country's more red, the country's more blue. No, the country's got people in the wagon and the country's people pulling the wagon. And as long as the people in the wagon have the same vote as the people pulling it, more people are going to vote for the free shit. And they're not ever going to say, you know, maybe I'll pay my own electric bill from now on. Maybe I'll get out of subsidized housing. Maybe I'll turn into EBT cards. Maybe I'll pay for my own car. Maybe I'll pay for my own college loan. Maybe I'll pay for all of my own stuff. I don't want the government to be. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And we can talk about it till we're blue in the face. It's not going to happen. People have gotten used to this. This is what they've gotten used to. And they're more than happy. They're more than happy to let somebody else have their vote.
Then get used to being a banana republic, because that's what the end result of this is.
Right. And I've been preaching to for how long now, Mike? It's all going to come to an end. And that's why you need to prepare for when it comes to an end, because it's going to come to an end. And within 3 months, 10% of the population will be dead. Within 6 months, 20% of the population will be dead. After a year, it's going to be 10% of us left.
But I think that's where the disconnect is too. Mike used the word republic, which we are a republic. Who says that we're a republic anymore but us fighting for the Constitution to be put back to where it was?
Not everybody
and our government to follow the Constitution. We're the only people. They're out there every day talking about the democracy of America.
Which we're not.
No, we're not.
We're not.
We're intentionally not made a democracy.
No,
there are
they have changed the
democratic
narrative
elements in our government, but we are not a democracy. Okay, it was purposely set that way so that there couldn't be a mob rule. Okay, which is what a democracy is. Democracy is nothing more than mob rule.
Now, when we had the government shut down under Bush W, I was watching that show Deadliest Catch, and of course, Deadliest Catch is broadcast a couple of months after because everything is recorded for the next season.
Right.
And they were showing that show about how these guys couldn't go fishing because the government shut down. They couldn't go fishing because the government shut down. And one of the captains on one of the ships going, I'm never going to vote for these people again. They shut down the government. And of course, they put the blame on the Republicans, as it always comes down to the Republicans. And we're not going to do this, and we're not going to do that, not going to do this. And I was listening to all the other people on all the other shows and people that I would talk to about how their job, their life was affected by the government shutdown. And my response to them wasn't, gee, it's a shame that the government shut you down. My response was, isn't it a shame that government is involved in your job? Isn't it a shame that we've allowed government to get its tentacles into every single facet of our lives, that when they screw the pooch and they shut down, that we can't go about our daily business? So don't ask yourself, what can the government do to make things better? Ask yourself, why the hell is the government involved in the first place? Why is the government involved in the first place? Why does the government have any say in issuing this permit or that permit or this or that? You own something, do what you want with it. You want to do your job, do your job. What's the problem? Oh well, we can't get our fishing licenses to go out into the Bering Sea and go get our catch. All right. Well, you're in the industry. You know what your limits are. Go fishing. Go. Or gas up your tank, turn your motor on, and go. Bring the shit back. Bring it to the dock. Sell it. Why do you need government to issue you the okay, you can go now? When did we appoint government to control every aspect of our lives? That when people have a government shutdown, they say, oh, the government shut down. I can't do nothing. I can't do nothing. Say, why are you involved? What are you doing here? What are you doing here, fisheries department? What are you doing here? This department, that department. Pete works with permits all the time. This is what he does. He does this stuff. Granted, a lot of the stuff that Pete does is you're talking multi-million dollar, multi-billion dollar projects, very expensive things that you have to have some sort of safety regulations, rules, and this, that, and everything else. A guy wants to build a shed in his backyard. The hell does he need a friggin' permit for? You know, what do you need a permit? Why do I have to ask permission from my government to change my property? If I want to plant trees along my driveway, why do I need the government to tell me that I'm producing too much oxygen by putting trees in it? Well, what do I need? What do you need this shit for? Government is a massive intrusion on our lives, and until people, I said when the shutdown happened, it didn't happen for long enough. That shutdown should have lasted a year. Should have lasted a year because people would have eventually said, you know, I've had enough of this crap. What do I need these people for? Go order me up my concrete. I'm pouring my slab.
That's why we know the shutdown won't last, and the deal absolutely will be made, and they will spend more money. They can't go. They can only go about a month before people start going, we don't need you.
No. You're wrong.
About a month.
You're wrong. We
wrong.
just lived through it.
What?
We had over a year
Oh, you're
of
talking
the
about
government
pandemic.
telling you can't do this, you can't do that. And what did people do? Yes, Massa.
Yeah, well, what did they? Well, but Michael, what did they do? But government shut down enough to tell you what you could and you couldn't do, but they never shut down the enforcement arm of it. So they could tell you, we can't issue you a permit. We can't issue you this. We can't get your documents done. We can't do this. We can't get your checks done. We can't do this. You can't do that. But if you want to go to the fucking park and play ball with your kid, we sure got somebody out there that's going to write you a summons for it. They kept their enforcement arm together. So what they did was shut everybody down, and then they used fear to coerce your cooperation. They used fear, intimidation, and punishment to keep the people locked down and to keep the people to obey. It wasn't a matter of obeying because, you know, they felt compelled to do so out of some patriotic duty. No, they were punished if they didn't. Because government can shut down all they want. They're still going to punish you. They're not going to do their job.
That's exactly the same. Okay, if government shut down for a year, I mean, we went through the COVID lockdown and you saw people complied.
Yes, some people, you know who didn't comply? Me.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I know.
And remember, there were things like, and I remember this clearly because I did a video on it. There were things like in Broome County, County Executive Jason Garnar, who I happen to know, came up with this brilliant idea that every other day people were to be in solitary confinement. He was literally going to, he tried to pass, he called it Operation Crush COVID. And he wanted to enforce that people, and he said himself, he didn't have the power to do it, but he was using all of the trappings of power, press conference, a draft of a bill. He did everything he could that made it seem like it would be legal and they had the power. Yet he admits he didn't have a power. And I was screaming at the top of my lungs about this, going, this is a massive overreach. You can't possibly do this. And there was a pushback, and the public stopped him. So even when the government does try, there is a limit somewhere. And I would think that if we shut down, if the government shut down, which would include its enforcement wing, would have to be shut down or dramatically reduced, I think that you would see people turn around.
Well,
I think we need a longer than 1 month shutdown. We
Well,
need
that's
like
why I
3
said-
months.
it had to, it had to go on for a year. I says it's got to go. I would be perfectly happy because listen, the government's going to shut down. The government's not going to abandon the military.
No.
The military will go on. Okay, it'll be all of the when they can turn around and shut everything down and then tell the public only the people with essential jobs. You're not essential. You're not essential. Listen, every job in America, I don't give a shit what you do, is essential. It's essential to you, the person doing the job. It's essential to the person who hired you. It's essential to your family that you have that job, because without that job, you can't bring home a check. You can't feed the family. You can't heat the house. You can't pay the bills. It's essential. Nobody is non-essential. You know who's non-essential? Government is not essential. Not the jobs, because the jobs are essential to those people. But those people should go out into the private sector and not the public sector, because government is non-essential. There's 3 or 4 things that government needs to do. Government can literally shrink by 95%, and we would function better as a country. We would function much better as a country.
Twitter
And,
effect.
Yeah, it is. What really? Why do we even have an ATF? How come? Listen, how come ATF, alcohol, the Bureau of Alcohol, Firearms, and Tobacco? When was the last hearing ever that any of you remember when somebody who takes care of the T or the A was up on Washington anywhere? When was the last hearing that we had on alcohol? When was the last hearing we had on tobacco? Why is the ATF only hearings that ever wind up showing up, and the only rules and regulations that they decide to expand have to do with firearms? Why, if they're not doing anything with the alcohol or the tobacco, why do we have those 2 parts of that department? Why isn't it just the Department of Firearms? Granted,
Because it violates
ATF
Second
is
Amendment.
well, ATF is unconstitutional from the beginning, but we have this massive bureaucracy, and it's okay. So every one of your agents that is at the ATF also handles tobacco and alcohol. No, well, they're firearms. Well, then why do you have those people that do are worrying alcohol? Why? What are they there for? What is their role at this point? The states have already passed all their alcohol laws. The states have passed all their tobacco laws. What are you there for? What are you there for? Eliminate it. What do we need the Department of Education for? The Department of Education doesn't do a goddamn thing except set standardized testing and standardized requirements for states to have to contend with. And the states have to contend with bullshit that the students in those states are never going to deal with anyway. States have a better grasp on what the students in those states need than the federal government does. We don't need education department. We need a military, we need representation, we need border security. Because Social Security is now such a huge scam on the American people, this big giant Ponzi scheme that we can't get rid of it now. We can't get rid of it at all. So we need somebody to administer that. Internal Revenue Service, well, that's a scam in and of itself. What do we need that shit for? We don't need all those people. If you had a sensible tax system,
Well,
Well,
no,
if
put
we
that back up,
actually
Mike.
if we actually limited government to spend money within its authority, we wouldn't need income taxes.
No, I understand, but Mike, put that list back up that you just had. I want to point out something there, and I want to hear Jan and
The
Pete
Pew
respond.
research.
Yeah, the Pew.
Hold on a second. I
Because
closed it
there's
out.
something that's very interesting that's in that list, and I think it's really important because again, it's going to take you 30 seconds to notice this once I point it out. I think. And it just shows the problem and what the problem really is. Okay, so the very first thing on that list. So majorities, right. Ensuring access to health care. You don't need the government for that. If you have a job, you can do it. If you don't have a job, churches can take care of it. That's how we did that for over 100 years.
Mhm.
Government doesn't provide that. Government actually interferes. Government now says that I have to pay, I have to have insurance, and I have to be able to pay to get a pap smear. I'm a man. I can't get a pap smear. It's not physically possible. I have to pay for an OBGYN consultation. I am a man. I can't get that. Government has interfered with that. It made it worse, not better. It's not ensuring healthcare. It's limiting healthcare and raising the cost. How about the second thing on there? Protecting the environment. The United States leads the world by multiples. You can put all of the Europe and the United Kingdom together, and the United States is still 3 times more reduction of greenhouse gases than all of them put together. That's a quarter of the people of the world. The United States is better than every nation. And again, we have multiple nations, 20 nations put together, and we're better than all of them by multiples. We don't have an environmental problem in the United States. We already resolved the problem. We're the best example in the world, but yet the government is saying, no, but we need to do more. No, we really don't. We just need to do what we're doing. We already resolved this. We have convinced and lied to the public to say, no, we're the problem. No, we're the solution. So yet again, these are examples, and we can go through the list there. We can go through helping people get out of poverty. We have spent $15 trillion to get people out of poverty. And in the last 40 years, the number of people in poverty has increased, not decreased. We have spent more money than almost any country has in terms of income. Most countries, in fact, the United States doesn't make $15 trillion a year. We spent more than most nations will ever create. They don't have a GDP to even get close to that. Literally, you could take the bottom 50 countries over the last decade, and you wouldn't get to $15 billion. You wouldn't even get $1 trillion. You wouldn't even get close to it. No, the government isn't helping. They are the problem, and they are continuing to extend the problem to make people believe there is a dependence on them. They have used so much propaganda in the mainstream media. They have used so much propaganda in entertainment and in organizations that are dependent on the government for their support to push this misinformation, this disinformation, this lie that the government's going to be able to help you. They're the ones responsible. No, they're not. They're the problem. They have every one of those issues, and we can go through that entire list. Every single one of them is the government impeding people's freedom and making it worse, not better. Because the solution in every one of those is people do it better than the government, and it's not a problem when the people take care of it. It's only a problem when government's involved.
Well,
Listen, government.
here's some things that we need to take note of on
All right,
this.
before we take note of stuff, I want to get Pete in on this because he's
That's
been
what I'm saying.
he's been trying to get in here and say something about. I got to ask him, Pete, your job.
Yeah.
with government. Okay, how much of your job is revolves around government?
I should not exist. I've said it since the day I started in this industry 30 years ago. I should not exist. What
Right.
I do is, I'm the motherfucker who gets shit done. I take the client's needs, whether it be owner, contractor, developer, whatever, turn it into governmentese so that the government can understand it and make things happen, make things go. The fact that you need a third-party consultant between the private sector and the government side, I should not exist.
All right, now who made your job as difficult as it is, was it the contractors, developers, owners, builders, or
Oh no, it's always the
made-
government.
All right,
It's
so
always the government.
so government creates a bunch of problems that you have to fix to present to the government so they can give you the okay to do something that they're going to give you permission to do.
The classic example of this that I always roll back to, and it bugs the hell out of me, the ADA, American Disabilities Act.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, needed regulation, no doubt. Tell someone that just spent $5 million on an apartment that they can't have a lavatory, a small little lavatory, because you can't get a wheelchair in it. And it's not because they're in a wheelchair or they're handicapped, but you have to design your residence based upon someone else who might live there after you. That has always been a stickler for me. Yes, I can understand in rental units. I can understand in public housing. Of course, designed to ADA standards. When you buy a co-op or a condo, you own that unit. I don't need to, if I want to have a step-down living room, remember the step-down living rooms that used to be
Yes.
so popular in the 70s and 80s? You can't have a step-down living room anymore unless you have some sort of provision to provide wheelchair access. I was one, you want to talk about another good one. I once did work for a strip club.
Woohoo!
We had to, the city wanted us to provide a handicap ramp to the stage.
What?
The city of New
The
Hold on a
women who
York
second.
spin
did,
around on the pole needed a
This-
ramp.
the city of New York did not want to grant approval for the layout of the strip club because there was not a handicap ramp to the stage.
For a woman who's going to spin on a pole.
Right. You know, because I mean, people in wheelchairs, you know, they always encourage interaction in strip clubs, right? You know, so yeah, I can even see if the audience participation, and you would have to have that. But you can't do that in a strip club.
No. For those that don't know for some reason, okay, there's got to be some, okay. You can't touch a woman in a strip club.
Right.
You can't. You will be beaten down and thrown out forcibly if you touch them. You can't do that.
Well, it's not for the patron. It's
Right.
not. That's not for the patron. It's
Right.
for the woman in a wheelchair who decides she wants to have an endeavor as a stripper so that she
Correct.
can go up and perform. Because if you don't let her go up and perform, then you're going to be violating the American with Disabilities Act and you're going to be violating the Equal Opportunity Employment Act because
Right.
you're not going to hire somebody based on a malady or a disability. You have to have an open employment policy so that somebody who is in a wheelchair can apply for the job. And if they meet certain criteria that you set forth, you have to hire that person. And if you hire them, you have to have them have access to the stage. And
You have to
can't do
have
that
reasonable
without a wheelchair.
accommodations for them.
Right.
Okay,
You have to have
that's
accommodations
ridiculous.
for them.
That is just so ridiculous.
But I want to get back to both those laws that you just talked about are unconstitutional at the federal level. Those are state issues, not federal.
Well, look, 90% of the crap that the federal government passes is unconstitutional.
Well, we know this, and this is what we have to educate people on. Okay. And getting back to this list, okay. Keeping the country safe from terrorism, 91% say government should play a major role. I agree with that because the federal government is responsible for the common defense, responding to natural disasters. That is not a federal government job. It's not in the Constitution. Okay. Now, if other states want to help a state that is in trouble, then that's on the state. So that is a state level deal. That is not a federal response. Ensuring safe food and medicine. Again, that could fall under the Commerce Clause, I guess. But if it doesn't cross interstate borders, then it's not interstate commerce. So if it's not interstate commerce, the government shouldn't be involved. Managing the U.S. immigration system. There's a few different ways of looking at how the U.S. does the immigration system. Okay. And technically, if we look at the Constitution, the only thing that the federal government has charge with is providing a uniform set of laws for the naturalization of citizens. Other than that, it is states that are responsible for immigration. Effectively handling threats to public health. Again, if it's not going across borders, the federal government has no authority in it. Strengthening the economy. The federal government shouldn't be involved in the economy, or very, very little involvement with the economy other than coining money. Maintaining infrastructure. Again, if it's not post roads, the federal government has no authority over it. Ensuring access to health care. That is completely
Zero.
contrary to the Constitution. The federal government should have no involvement. Yet 65% of America believes that that is part of the federal government's role. Help people get out of poverty. 62% of people believe that is a good role of government. It's not. Okay? So a majority of this list of people believe government should play a major role in. Government shouldn't have been involved with.
And that's why we're in the state that we're in.
Exactly.
Because all of these people that believe that shit keep voting for this shit.
Okay. Getting people out of poverty, that's a charity. Government shouldn't be involved with charities.
And
Okay, that's something people should do.
And let's not forget that the majority of people that are in poverty because of government programs.
Exactly.
They're in poverty because government has interfered with things they shouldn't interfere with, namely the free market, and have put conditions on people that lead to poverty. Well,
Well,
this study is also interesting, or the survey, because we can also see how trust in the federal government is declining.
Yeah, you know why?
We want government to play these major roles.
Yeah, the reason the reason why trust in the government is declining is because too many people believe the government should be providing this stuff, and the government doesn't do a good job at providing it, so they don't trust the government to provide the shit that government shouldn't be providing in the first place. So they want it, but they want it delivered efficiently, but it's not efficiently delivered, so they don't trust the government to administer these things that they're not supposed to administer in the first place. It's a vicious circle that will not break itself. The only thing that's going to break itself is when government breaks. Government needs to break the cycle, and we're not going to do it at the voting booth. Government is going to have to self-destruct. It's all going to have to come crashing down, and it's going to happen very soon.
With all this
New York is doing it.
With all this government control stuff, I have one last thing to say. I'm going to have to go. I have to get up at, for me, dark 30, because we have our Memorial Day parade and everything in the morning, and all the festivities for the day that I'm part of with the group that's running it now. So, but what I want to say is June 1st is just around the corner. We all know what happens on June 1st. Pride Month. So get ready to have transgenderism and drag queens thrown down your throat even more for the next month. My suggestion to anybody who disagrees, I don't care if you're gay, I don't care if you're straight, boycott Pride. These people need to learn they can't keep taking over what people fought for to change it to what they believe it should be, because we are in a woke society now.
Well,
What they're teaching our kids in the first grade is wrong. Kids should not be learning about sex and transgenderism and drag queens. Drag queens are for adults.
Mm-hmm.
Entertainment.
I know many transgendered people. And the people that I know are against every bit of this. So when you go out there and you start seeing your sidewalks painted Pride because they got to shove it down your throat, please remember that what you see being advertised today isn't what we fought for. It had nothing to do with it. All we wanted was equality. Yeah, get yours. I saw a meme the other day with this, and it said, "Get off my pride flag," because that has nothing to do with what the pride flag stands for.
all right. I brought this up for you, Jan, because I wanted to point this out to you. I want everybody who's watching to take a good long look at this flag that's on the screen right now, because this is the flag that's flying. This is the one that they're seeing painted in it, all with the intersections everywhere and everything else. Here's your rainbow on the side. That's supposed to be, it was originally God's promise. That's what the rainbow represented. It was God's promise that he would never destroy the earth again. That's okay. That's the biblical reference of the rainbow. It was adopted so that as the pride flag. Included in the pride flag now is black, brown, light blue, pink, and white.
It's all the other letters.
All right. Well, I want everybody to do a little bit of research. Anybody that sees this flag and thinks it's so wonderful and everything, I want you to really do the research, and I want you to do it honestly. I'm going to give you a couple of things now. The black is supposed to represent African Americans. So now African Americans are rolled up in the pride flag. So now if you're black, you're a member of the Pride Society. The brown is for Hispanics, Latinos, whichever. They're now also rolled up in the pride flag. I want you to think about, you know what the pink and the blue and the white are. Now, I'm going to tell you what they are, but I want you to do your research on it just so you can verify with me. When you see this flag and you support events that fly this flag, these three colors are the three colors that you're supporting. And the three colors that you're supporting, you know what the blue stands for? People who are attracted to minor boys, to little boys. The pink are people who are attracted to minor girls. The white is people who are attracted to minors who have their purity. These three colors are pedophile colors. This is not me telling you this. I researched this, I checked it out, and my sister, who's gay, pointed this out to me. All right. Jan and my sister would probably want to be best friends because they would get along perfectly. These three colors. Now, it's one thing now that you have the black and the brown. You know, you're not allowed, Mike, you're covered in two of these colors here.
That's what they say.
Congratulations, brother. You have two of your own colors. You have two of your own colors in the pride flag. So you can go marching in the parade now. But the people that fought for the rights that gays and lesbians enjoy today their constitutional rights. It's not enough. You are now the battles that these people won, the fights they fought, the marches they had, the beatings they endured, the ridicule, the scorn that they've had over a generation has now been hijacked to include the other colors. And now they've included the black and brown. I don't know why the black and the brown are not generally. Why would people of color have you're black or you're brown? Well, now you were going to identify that not as a national origin, but now as a sexuality. We're now going to no. Why is the black and the brown don't need to be there at all?
Nope.
At all, because black and brown people actually have their own flags that they fly for their own pride reasons, right?
Yep.
We've all seen the American flag and the African colors. We see every Latino group, they have a flag from the Latino nation that they identify as being, historically theirs. Why do we have the white, pink, and blue? So you're saying now all gay people and all black people and all brown people are now got to be chummy with the pedophiles. They're like the little boys, the little girls, and the little virgins.
We've been saying it, Frank, we've been saying it for the past 10 years that this was their goal, to get pedophilia the norm. This is why everything is more sexualized, why they're teaching children at the first grade level about sex, why they keep saying that, why they don't call them, they're not using the term pedophiles anymore. It's
minor
attracted to, yes, a minor attracted person. We knew 10 years ago that they were going to try to put this with the LGB.
Right. And I don't understand why more of the LGBT community hasn't turned around and said, no, go fuck yourself. This is
there are more and more that are standing up.
Oh, I know
I think that everything that's happened within this past year has really ignited a battle within the gay community, because there is a battle.
Well, they better start figuring out if they're going to pick a side, because when you're going to get lumped, this group is going to get lumped with this group, and
I don't know.
It'll be harder and harder.
Can you see that?
Yep.
Yep.
Can you see that?
See pride, yeah.
And it's the colors. I was very proud to get that many, many years ago. Very proud. I'm proud of who I am, what I am.
Mm-hmm.
I won't deny it for anybody. I'm ashamed at times now when I'm out in public to have that on my arm.
It's the politics, not the people. And that's the problem. It's the politics, not the people. The political movement has nothing to do with the people. It's like the BLM movement, it's the Antifa, it's Pride. It has nothing to do with the people. They're just using the people as a tool for political power because people aren't holding them accountable. I don't know of every person I know, LGBTQA, all of them, and I know many of all different types. I don't know one that agrees with MAP, minor attracted persons. I don't know one person in the Black or Hispanic community that's all in favor of MAP, minor attracted persons. I don't know anyone who wants to align with that political ideology. I don't know where this is coming from, because I am in touch for over 17 years with every political organization, large, small, and fringe in between. I've talked to people everywhere. I know people of every type except minor attracted persons. And I don't know where this movement is coming from. But I can tell you it's not individual. It's another one of those political organizations that exist only to advance its political agenda, not people.
And you want to know the worst part about it is looking from somebody who looks at everything about work I'm a firm believer in work. I like to work. I like to reap the fruits of what I sow. You know, I enjoy as a builder. I put things together and I go, man, that thing is going to be here 100 years after I'm here. I love the work. I love putting in the work. I love seeing the result. That original pride flag is the result of a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
People were flying that flag as the result of a lot of work, a lot of hard fought battles, and they earned that. These other groups are just coattailing somebody else's work. They're coattailing it. Look, if you're part of a pedophile group and you want to make it mainstream, have your pedophile parade. Don't include anybody else. Have your pedophile parade. You like little girls? Have your I love little girls parade. I like little boys parade. I like little virgins parade. Have your parade. Have your day. Bring your cause to the House floor, to the Senate floor as an individual cause, and see how far you get. Don't you dare pin your pride color to the color of people who were beaten, abused, burned, murdered, and tortured for all of those years, and then sit there saying, oh, we've always been here. No, you haven't. You haven't gone. You didn't do the work. You want to do the work. And if you get rejected, fuck you, deal with it. But they don't want to do that.
I think a big help with this fight too would be coming from folks like you, straight people. Don't call it LGBTQIA. Don't refer to it as LGBTQIA. It's LGB and all the other crap.
Well, all the other crap is separate.
Yeah.
All the other crap is separate. How many of these guys run around there, looking to, convert themselves? Oh, I'm a woman now, but I'm also a lesbian.
You can't be.
No. All I know is, listen, folks, every time you see one of them goddamn flags and you support one of the events that's flying that flag, every dollar you spend, every time you put your money down to support that, you're paying the freight for a pedophile to get closer to your kids. Every single time, because you're endorsing it. You're endorsing the rape, sexualization, the trafficking, and the outright just demoralizing of your own children by supporting that crap. If you want to support that, then don't support the flag. Support the, all right, okay, yeah, you like little kids? All right, I'm all for it. See how well that goes for you. Because if you're going to hide behind the rainbow and have that other crap attached to it, you're supporting that crap too. So pick a side. Because, like I said, every dollar you spend is another one of these people getting closer to your kids. And since you don't have control over your kids for at least 8 hours a day and somebody else does, you're paying for the agenda to get pushed down your kid's throat too. Because when the kid's not with you, the kid's with somebody else. And the kid's with somebody else who they're paying the freight for. So wise the fuck up. Wise up. Some bad shit there.
Thanks, guys. With that, I'm going to go ahead and go. I love y'all.
And we love you too, Jen. Listen, have a great day tomorrow. Thank you very much for doing what you're doing. I'm sure that everybody who participates in the event they might not say thank you outright, but I'm sure that everybody's going to appreciate your efforts as we do.
Absolutely.
Well, keep an eye on Facebook. I'll be posting.
Okay.
Well, if you take any nice photos, please share them up to the L1F pages. And we gave you free access to this. You can post anything you want whenever you want.
Yeah.
So boom, you're free to go. So
okay, night, guys.
Have a great night.
Night, Jan. Thanks.
Jan's a pip. I love that kid.
And then there were 4.
she's a good girl. She's a good. We're very very proud to have her as a friend. Really,
Absolutely.
Mhm.
She stands tall. She stands proud.
And she should.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, all that
And-
crap my dogs were barking about, I thought there's some people flying fireworks on the other side of the HOA. I thought that's what they were barking about, but they didn't go to the front door. It was a possum trying to get in the back of the house. It was a possum. It was a possum sitting on the back porch, looking in the window, driving Charlie nuts.
That'll do it.
Let him in.
Believe me, I want a pet possum. I want a pet raccoon. I want a pet beaver.
I always want a pet beaver.
Yeah, pet and beaver.
I had to. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's not that kind of show, damn it.
gotta walk right into that shit.
So, I was actually looking for some shirts that have been pulled from Target because basically they were grooming kids. And I heard a story this week that in the school, one of the kids piped up that he was a girl. And it started this whole thing throughout the school. And all of a sudden, it was like all the genders were swapping. Okay. And it's getting to the point where they are, and the school started up because it's one child, because his parents convinced him that he was a girl or that he felt like he was a girl. He went to school, and then once he started in school, the school started all this pro-trans stuff in the school. And as that started escalating in the school and teachers started talking more about trans acceptance and so forth, more and more of these kids started believing that they were trans. Okay, and
Peer
that's
pressure and the effect. It's
It's
like
called-
that movie. What was it? The movie from the 90s, In and Out.
I was
With
thinking
Matt
the
Dillon.
rave.
At the end of the movie, where they're all saying, "Oh, and I'm gay, and I'm gay, and I'm gay." It was to prove a point in that case, but I mean, yeah, you
Well,
get
it's-
kids together.
is. Okay,
They're good.
and
They're all going to do this. They're
Well,
kids.
I think I showed this a couple weeks ago, where the percentage of Gen Z that believe they are LGBTQIA plus is exponentially larger than any other generation before. Okay.
Peer pressure, social media, and
Mhm.
you hear it everywhere.
Well, you're
I-
seeing it everywhere. Okay. And it's almost a form of brainwashing in a sense. Okay. And most of these, they are literally, and I've also talked about this on the show. At that age group, you think and you respond emotionally. Okay. Because you think with your amygdala. It's not until you get past 25 that you start thinking more logically.
You know what I think we got to do? I think we got to start challenging these kids and say, okay, listen, I want you to, here's your homework. I want you to record yourself giving an explanation as to why you think you feel the way you think. And I want you to take it and post it publicly. You think you're part of that group. You think you're part of that group. Then, before you hit post, pick up your parents' high school yearbook and look at pictures of your parents. And then look at your parents today. Because I remember growing up in the 70s, I look back at some of the pictures that took place that when I was a kid in the 70s, and I go, I cannot believe my father had a goddamned afro. I cannot believe my father had an afro with a handlebar mustache, wearing cowboy boots, bell bottoms, a yellow shirt, a brown vest, and a pink tie. My father was probably the most masculine person I have ever met in my life. 6'3", 300-pound Marine. As he grew older, looked like Kenny Rogers.
Mhm.
He looked like Burt Reynolds' gay brother.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, when you post your little video, think of what you're going to think about that video 25 years from now. Because your parents have some really deep regrets about some of the crap they did when they were young and stupid.
Mo,
And then you explain to your children, when you have children, why daddy was making out with another guy, why mommy was making out with another girl, and it turns out you weren't gay at all. You were experimenting because that's what pop culture told you to do. Pop culture told people to do an awful lot of shit that was really stupid.
well,
And if people could erase it, they would. So everybody go make your little video. Go make your little video and then check back with me when I'm 75 years old and let me know what you think about it. I really want to. I'm looking to look forward to that phone call.
well,
Well, here's the thing.
I just wanted. This is why I brought this up real quick, Mike. What we're looking at, it's been done before. This was done in, I believe this was 1967. It's called the third wave experiment. And this is what we're doing to our kids right now. It doesn't take long. The third wave in 1967 took a week, 1 week. And what did they do? In a California high school by accident, they created neo-Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we are doing to our children. They don't know that this is happening. It's been done very slowly. In 1967, they did it by accident and it happened quickly. Now they're doing it slowly and steadily. It's the same thing. Oh, this is popular. This is what we're being told. This is the current fad. And everyone is saying blind affirmation. You have to agree. You have to accept it. And what does it lead to? 1930s Germany. It leads to destruction, death, damage, attacks, violence, authoritarianism. We are looking at the current political movement, not the people. The political movement is doing the third wave experiment on our kids today. And we should be really terrified because we've had a generation of this. Where does it lead to? We were lucky in California to find out in 7 days because we were remembering clearly what we had just fought a war over. Today, people don't remember that war. They don't remember those results. They don't remember the third wave experiment. This is what is happening.
Well, and you're going to be hard pressed to find it. But when the Third Reich was coming up, they focused on the children.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The Hitler Youth movement was huge because they knew that they could transform these children's thinking so radically and so easily and quickly that's why they concentrated on the youth, on the children. Okay. And it's been throughout history, it's been shown that if you focus on the children, that you will change a civilization.
Again, why did they go into education?
Mhm.
Easier access.
Yeah, it was. People may forget about it. Here it is. Because just like the third wave, it's a principle that came about, and this is from the BBC history. Go after children. If you get the children, you get the next generation.
Yep.
You maintain control because they don't know any different. They don't know their history. They don't know about freedom. If we don't, people think Memorial Day nowadays is about going to the movies, about getting an extra day of work to go out and have a picnic or a barbecue. No, it's to remember so that we never have our children forget. It's so that we don't have to fight World War II again or anything like World War II again. It's to stop dictatorships and authoritarianism. It's meant to prevent the abuses because if we allow our kids to forget, like the third wave experiment, we will see history repeat. We will see these atrocities again and again. And it'll pick a new group of people. Maybe next time it's going to be those who are blonde haired. Maybe we'll be going after people who are not mixed race. Maybe we'll go after people who are straight. Doesn't really matter. There will be someone who will be the target of this same kind of ideology because we let our kids forget what is the Constitution, what it is to have free speech, to be able to defend themselves, their property, their families. If we allow them to forget privacy, if government is involved in every aspect of their lives and they have no aspect of their life for themselves, independent of government, then they are no more than slaves. They are no more than what they have been programmed to be. And we know what happens when you program children because we see it in history. It is clear, it is exact, and it is what is happening.
And the Japanese did the same. The Chinese
Or doing
do
it
the
now.
same thing. Okay. The samurai culture was indoctrinating kids from the time they're toddlers all the way up to be samurai. Slavery, a lot of kids that were brought up in slavery, born into slavery and brought up, did not know how to cope when they were released. Okay. And many of them, in some states, there were laws that once you reach your 21st birthday, you were emancipated. This is prior to slavery being the Emancipation Proclamation. And many of those slaves went back to slavery because they couldn't cope inside of
It's
slavery.
Well, that's why you have such high recidivism rate with criminals because they become institutionalized. They don't know how to live outside of the institution that they're so familiar with that they don't have a coping mechanism for it. So they wind up going back to prison. I have a cousin that can't function at all in the real world because he's a junkie for one, he's a thief, he's a lowlife. But every time they let him out of jail, he can't do anything. He's a non-functioning member of society, and the only thing he can do is go back to prison. You go back to what you know, and that's part of the problem. Now, listen, we're going on 2 hours and 40 minutes here, so I think it's almost time to wrap this up. I think we passed that time, but Kids, let me just show you one thing here. We're talking about the 1970s. In the 1970s, there were a couple of the predecessor to the boy bands out back then. You had the Monkees, you had the Jackson 5, naturally, the biggest boy band of all time. And you had another boy band out there, the Osmonds. Donnie and Marie Osmond, the offspring of it. Men across this country tried to emulate the look of the Osmonds. And in doing so, they went out and they bought themselves outfits like those.
Yep, I remember those days.
Okay. This is what your parents wore. This is what your parents were seduced into thinking was cool and hip and counterculture and was a statement. You see how ridiculous that is? Look how absolutely horrendous. This is Donnie in the middle. That's the elder brother of Marie Osmond. He's the most famous of the Osmonds. All right, these are just guys in a suit. And us, the four of us who are all old enough to remember this crap,
Yeah.
we look at this with complete and utter disdain, disgust, and a certain amount of humor because fortunately for all four of us, at the time this was going on, we were all probably just a little too young to make up our own wardrobe decisions. So if there's photos of us dressed like this, believe me when we tell you, it was not our doing. It was our parents that took that mass psychosis hypnosis and used the Munchausen by proxy syndrome and wedged it upon us. The stupidity that what was that percentage, Mike, that they say believe that they're part of that community? 67% of Gen X?
Yep.
Yeah.
Or Gen Z, whatever the hell Gen this is.
Gen Z.
You're cutting shit off of yourself.
Yeah.
Shit you're going to need later on at some point, and you're going to have regrets. Our parents regret dressing like this. Imagine how much regret you're going to have when you're forced to dress a certain way because you voluntarily snipped, tucked, wrapped, implanted, or whatever the hell it is. What you're doing is irreversible. The Osmonds, eventually they grew up and put on a nice suit. You're not going to have that opportunity to do that. So wise up.
Now, it's not quite as bad as these.
I'm afraid.
Oh, MC Hammer.
Well,
Genie pants.
all right. Well, parachute pants. All right. Now this is our generation's stupidity. However, I can honestly say I never wore parachute pants. I never owned parachute pants.
Nope.
I never wanted to be seen in parachute pants because I couldn't touch them. That was part of it.
Okay. I think it's time to wrap this up.
Yeah.
Again, I want everybody that's watching this, whether it's watching us live or in the future, to remember all those that have fallen and the very sacred oath that they took to support and defend or uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. That oath wasn't to defend a nation. It was to defend the foundation of our nation, which is the Constitution of the United States. And also, we need to remember, okay, while Memorial Day, typically we remember those in uniform that have sacrificed their lives for freedom, there were many, many more that never donned the uniform that also paid the ultimate price for our freedom. One name comes to mind, was not military. Christmas Attic
Mhm.
was the very first casualty of the American Revolution. He was a black freeman
Mhm.
that lost his life during the Boston Massacre.
Mhm.
Okay, Christmas Attucks. There are countless people throughout our history that have sacrificed their lives for the call of freedom. Okay, people that were massacred at Kent State, they were exercising their freedoms. Others across the history of the United States that have made the same sacrifice. They paid the ultimate price for the liberties that we should be enjoying today that are constantly being ripped apart from us. And why? Because we don't hold our government accountable to the people, even though it is supposed to be a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. You need to get involved. You need to become a part of it. And with that, I do want to remind everybody that our membership drive is in full swing. And we want you guys to become part of the Liberty First Foundation. Okay. We want you to raise your own voice, but we also want you to become part of an organization, whether it's our organization or another organization that is standing up for your rights, because we can't do it alone. Plain and simple. It's too easy to silence a single voice. But together, working together, organized together, those voices will get heard. Okay. With each voice that we bring to the table, the more we can get people to listen. That's why we ask that you join Liberty First Foundation and you support us with paid membership, because this allows us to get our voice and our message out to more people and get others to start talking about this, to start learning about the Constitution, to start learning how to stand up for their rights and how to organize their communities to stand against this government oppression that we are seeing today. Okay. We're seeing an assault on the Second Amendment. We're seeing a government that's out of control with spending so much that every year they have to pass another debt ceiling. We're seeing across the board corruption. We're seeing out of control, overreach. I mean, the list goes on. Well, the only way we can change it is if we, the people, change it. So with that, I do urge you to go to the members to our membership drive. I will go ahead and post the link in the chat and on the page. But I do ask that you go and become a member. Okay. And if you don't agree with what we're doing, you don't think we're doing a good job, then join some other organization, the 10th Amendment Center, the National Constitution Center. I mean, there's countless other organizations that are out there teaching the Constitution. Okay. Find something. But at the very least, get a copy of the Constitution and read through it. Learn what your government is allowed to do and then start holding them accountable. I want to thank everybody that's on the show tonight. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up. We are here every Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And I want to thank everybody that's in the chat. I want to thank everybody that watched tonight. Special thanks to Jan and Peter for joining us tonight. Michael, as always, thank you very much. You're here every week. Why don't you go ahead and pitch your show and let everybody know where they can find you.
Every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I do a live stream on No Sound Bites Allowed. As you can see above my head, just type it into any search engine. I'm on Rumble, on Twitter, on politics. You can call in and speak with me about any issue, international or domestic. And we've been doing that this is our 5th year. This is going to be episode 22. It's just an opportunity to talk about the politics that's affecting all of us all around the world and to see how it's affecting us. And so everyone's invited to drop on in. People can call in from anywhere in the world. They can leave their chat. We have a great conversation every week.
Thank you, Michael. Frank, you got any last words to say?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm gonna share something with you, kids. If you want to do something cool, you want to look cool, be cool, you want to be hip, do me a favor. Bring that back. And where'd it go? Yeah. Bring that back. This was cool. This was the epitome of cool.
The rap.
And one last thing before I sign out of here and I get out of here. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the greatest who ever lived.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
She's going to be terribly missed.
Yeah.
She was a voice of several generations, and she never found her voice until she gained her own freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And she powerful, strong, independent, somebody that you can emulate, and she was just the best, simply the best. So, Tina, God bless you. Godspeed. We love you.
Yeah.
And for
You
me,
will be
you guys be safe. It's great.
Okay. With that, we'll see you next week.